I have to identify what that was and what I felt in it, how I experienced it. It's a going toward of my pain and my anger. Hi, it's me, Darla D. It's been a long, full, windy day for me, but I've got something on my heart and I just want to share it with you. On my last video, I talked a lot about the state of our hearts and how happiness is determined by the state of our hearts and which direction we're going. I talked about how there's really two different directions. One direction is to close and shut down our heart toward bitterness, resentment, revenge, hatred, all of those things. And the other direction is to open your heart. So tonight, what I was thinking about is one of the ways that we can begin to open our hearts. And that's forgiveness. I know forgiveness has had a tough rap for a lot of people, and it does for a lot of my clients, because I think they think that forgiveness means to condone or accept or give free permission to the person who hurt us. But it doesn't. That's not what forgiveness is. For me, when I began considering how to open my heart, I knew that I needed to forgive, because I knew the very reason that my heart was shut down was because of hurt. So I decided, I don't want to stay bitter. I don't want to stay angry and grumpy and empty. I want to move toward opening my heart. So I want to talk just a little bit about forgiveness. Some call forgiveness a practice, and I really like that. It is a practice. It's not just a moment, although it may start by a moment or a choice or a willful decision that says, I want to forgive this person. I want to get there. And then it's work. It's a practice. It's hard. And the way I see it is it's a process of identifying what happened. What was it that I wanted, that I needed, that I expected, that I hoped for, that didn't happen? I have to identify what that was and what I felt in it, how I experienced it. It's a going toward of my pain and my anger. It means wrestling with what happened. Oftentimes, we think that we've forgiven someone when we just something happens and we're like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to forgive them, so okay, I forgive you. And then we think it's done. But somehow deep inside, we know it's not done. We know we're carrying it with us, and we know we're shutting down our hearts. So to begin to open up is to go toward that pain that shut us down. So I too began to do that. I began to identify, what was it that I felt hurt about? Why was I so angry? What did I expect that I didn't get? What did I get that I didn't need? And I began to feel that. And I understand that feeling it is really hard. We don't like to feel pain. Sometimes we do like to feel anger, but we don't really like to feel pain very much. But it's the only way to open up our hearts again. So I began to feel my hurt. I began to grieve. It's a wrestling, it's an active process. It's a working out of that pain. And for me, it took a long time. In fact, I kind of would call it going through the 7 steps to forgiveness that someone had offered me, which is all of those things I'm just saying. And I did it once and I didn't make the headway I kind of wished I had had. My heart opened about like that much. And so I did it again. And then it opened about that much. And it didn't get me where I really wanted to be to begin with, because my heart was shut down really tight. But I do have to say that it shifted my heart and it began opening. And when I was finally finished with all the wrestling and grieving and crying and being angry about what happened, when I was finally finished, I let go. I let go of what happened. I let go of my right to hold it over their head the rest of my life. I also let go of my right to hold on to that acid that was building up in my spirit, in my mind, in my heart, and holding on to that unforgiveness. I let go of that. I released my right to be bitter and resentful and rageful and revengeful. That's a pretty nice thing to let go of. Some people say they want to forgive and forget, and I think that's really misunderstood. I don't think anybody can forget the hurtful or painful thing that someone has done. But what we can do is, when we grieve it, when we release it, when we work through it, we actually release the hold it has over us such that it's as though we forget its power. We release its power rather than rehearsing the pain over and over in our mind in such a way that, dang, we will never forget that because we're holding it so tightly. Rather than doing that, we can release it and let it go as if it's gone, although we certainly still remember it. It just doesn't have a hold over us anymore. So that is how I began to open my heart. I had a lot more work to do, but I started down that road. And I know for many people, forgiveness begins to really open their hearts. I think the one who created us knew exactly what we needed, which was forgiveness for us, to set us free.